Good morning. Welcome to Lesson 1, Part 16. Now, right off the bat, I want you to be ready to make the most of this lesson, so have the PDF open, the first quarter lesson texts. If you don't have the latest copy of this free PDF, you can use one of the links located just below this video on its YouTube page. Download it now. Good. Now, if this is your first visit to one of my videos, then by all means, go back to the index, go back to my YouTube page, and find Lesson 1, Part 1. Set yourself up for success. You don't need more confusion in your life. Join me on page 4. We've already done the contrived concentration. We've done the spontaneous concentration. And now we come to the last exercise on page 4. It's at the bottom of the page. And the title for this exercise is Renunciation. Now, renunciation has a bad rap thanks to our friends, the fundamentalists. From the fundamentalist point of view, if something feels good, don't do it. Oh, for God's sakes, don't do it. But from the liberal point of view, we take a more hedonistic approach, and we basically say this: dude, suffering sucks. I don't like feeling physical pain. I don't like feeling emotional pain. Therefore, I'm going to renounce two things. Number 1, the pain, and number 2, the causes of the pain. You see, if you start renouncing pleasure, you're going to, develop resentments, and it's going to suck the joy out of your life. But if you renounce stuff you already don't like, and renounce the causes of the things that you don't like, then letting go of those things will be much, much easier. Let me give you an example. Let's say you don't like the idea of being arrested. Then I would recommend renouncing the habit of running up to cops and kicking them in the shins. That's a good thing to let go of and never ever do. Let's say you value having 4 fingers and 1 thumb on each hand, and I'd recommend wholeheartedly not to reach into a running garbage disposal. You see how this works here? So here's another for instance. If you don't like being overweight, then turn away from the causes of being overweight. If you don't like making your girlfriend or your wife cry, then stop doing the things that you can then make her cry. If despite your best efforts you're not doing a good job, you might want to rethink the compatibility of this pairing. But by and far, by and in large, there are things we can do. For instance, if she asks you if these pants make her ass look big, the answer is no. No, they don't. That's a beautiful ass. In fact, honey, do we have to go because you're smoking? That's the right answer. Am I blushing yet? Okay, so here's the deal. We're going to play, this is the first exercise where we actively begin deconstructing either the pain or the anger or the sorrow or the fear or the guilt or the turmoil or whatever's going on. And so we're going to ask this question: how could this anger and its causes not satisfy? Now you might say, well, that's a big fat no, duh. Of course the anger doesn't satisfy. That's why I'm doing something about it. But did you know that on some level, in some childish, petulant, carryover from childhood, there's a part of her brain that holds on to it anyway. This reminds me of a story from my own foolish childhood. I remember the klepto phase. Do you remember the klepto phase when you took anything that wasn't nailed down? I do. And so I was over at my neighbor's house. This is in the early 70s, maybe late 60s. And there was a double-edged razor just lying on the counter. You know, the kind maybe you remember your grandpa using. You could put it, it's when they had the razors, they opened up they twisted the thing at the handle, and two clasps opened up, and they would actually pull out a flat razor. So that flat razor was just lying on the counter. It was shiny and pretty. So, of course, I wanted to have it. I looked to the left, I looked to the right, but as surreptitiously as a little kid could, I grabbed it. And because I didn't want to lose my precious thing, just like Golem, my precious, I squeezed it really, really tight. I then kept straight in my arm and tried to look as casual as I could, you know, to cover up my larceny. Then I noticed a wet sensation, and I opened up my hand and saw that my hand was now covered in blood. And like the little coward that I was, I screamed like Homer Simpson, threw down the razor, and sprinted all the way home, which wasn't very far. It was next door. I was pretty much an idiot. The smartest thing I did in that story, once I identified the source of the blood was the razor, was to let go of it. Most of us, deep down, don't get that. And we forget to let go of that which causes us suffering. I remember one time I was having a very tough time. It was during one of San Diego's very rare cold snaps, and we're really don't know how to deal with the cold when it gets here. I was very close to homelessness. I was staying in a disused Theravadan temple with broken windows. I was sick. My back was in spasm. I was, really demoralized by the way that the Laotian nationals were treating me. And I was just really at my wit's end. I was scared and angry and full of a lot of self-pity. And so I spoke to an older monk, and he said, "Yes, that's why it's called suffering." And then a light bulb went off. In the Theravadan scriptures, why does Buddha have us actually label suffering as suffering? Because it puts it in perspective. When we are faced with that which is dissatisfactory, which exacerbates our hardships, when we experience, well, what is suffering? There's a good question. I used to think suffering had to be this vulgar, grandiose, over-the-top thing, like a Michael Bay action movie summer blockbuster. No. Suffering can be profoundly subtle. Whenever we don't get what we want it, whenever we don't keep what we like for as long as we'd like to, whenever we endure that which we don't want, those things are sufferings. And when there's a suffering in our life, and we say, that's a suffering, it takes the surprise off. That's huge. I remember as a kid watching classic episodes of Star Trek with William Shatner and DeForest Kelley and Leonard Nimoy, and whenever Spock or McCoy would be hit with an incapacitation ray or a pain ray, they'd act like they were in pain. Kirk would act like he was appalled. Don't you know who I am? I have finely coiffured hair. I'm wearing velour. I have a great big spaceship, and I have sex with green women. I am above such paltry things as your pain ray. So we all kind of act like Captain Kirk. You know, what? I've been injured? This is outlandish! What? I'm going hungry? This is inconceivable! I do not think that word means what you think it means. What? Susie turned me down when I asked her for a date. Such a thing is unheard of! Actually, it's not. We all kind of act like the mayor of Halloween Town from Nightmare Before Christmas. You know, we kind of go into freak-out mode. But when we recognize the suffering as just that, suffering, then there's less of a freak-out. Oh, this sucks because it's suffering. Suffering's supposed to suck. Okay, it's not the end of the world. There are things we can do to deal with that. Also, it helps to remind us to let it go. Whether it's letting go of a bad relationship strategy, or it's letting go of a razor that's cutting your hand. This exercise, if done properly, creates the intellectual and visceral momentum that will feed us and feed the propensity to let go that we'll explore in future exercises. So, quite simply, how could this anger and its causes not satisfy? Mentally recite this on the in-breath. And now whisper. Or perhaps, how could this fear and its causes not satisfy? Or perhaps, how could this sadness and its causes not satisfy? Or maybe how could this pain and its causes not satisfy? Or maybe how can this illness and its causes not satisfy? Now, someone wrote me with a really good question after the final video for the spontaneous concentration exercise. And they said, how many times should I recite this exercise to deconstruct some pain? And my answer was, well, these individual exercises are part of a set that'll only take you about 9 minutes to use. And in each video, you'll get another piece of the puzzle. Once we've covered the last exercise, what I'll do is I'll do a simple follow-along video. So right now we're just getting used to the ideas of these exercises. We're not really applying them yet. We're just getting used to them. Typically, this 9-minute practice will be taught in 1 2-hour class. So by the end of the class, you'll walk out with a 9-minute technique that you can do once every morning and once every evening for 6 consecutive days, and it works fabulous. But this video has been made basically as an adjunct to the classes, so that after class, if you forgot the teachings for a specific exercise, you can look up the link on that practice text, click it on your computer, and watch the appropriate video. There's nothing wrong with watching it now, but let's watch it with the proper expectation. So, in conclusion, renunciation is not designed to be a killjoy in our life, but protect us from needless, egregious suffering. Number 2, notice whatever crap is manifesting in your life and plug it into this exercise. you only need to do the exercise for one breath. That's why it says X. On the right-hand side, it says X apostrophe S, which means times 1-3, which means 1 to 3 breaths. And you'll notice the 1 is bold and underlined, which is my less than subtle way of saying, hey, just do this for one breath. Right now, you may be able to squeeze just 1 or 2 manis in a breath in time, and if you do this twice a day, every day, you'll be able to knock out 7 per breath in a very short time. But here's the thing I want to explore with you. You'll notice there's a blank. How could this fill in the blank and its causes not satisfy? Well, here's the deal. Not everything we experience is suffering. We experience 3 things: pleasure, suffering, and neutral stuff. So you might say, well, why would we let go of pleasure? Like, what would we even say, how could this pleasure not satisfy? Well, think of it this way. Remember the first time you ever made love? Remember the first time you ever made love and it was actually good, it was good sex and you had a wonderful orgasm? Did you just say, wow, that was a delightful orgasm? Well, that's done. I can cross that off my list. I never have to have sex again. No. You probably couldn't wait to have another orgasm. So, we are faced with a conundrum that there's something about pleasure, even the best pleasure, that fails to satisfy. We're still left wanting more. Maybe, for instance, let's say you have a big meal. You might not want more the next 10 seconds, but the next 10 hours or the next 10 days, I'm pretty sure you're going to want to eat again. So even pleasure leaves us wanting more. Now, does this mean we have to lament and sackcloth and ash? No. Now, it means we have to be negative and say, man, life's full of suffering and it sucks. No, we don't got to do that. We acknowledge that pain obviously sucks, and even pleasure fails to satisfy. So that when we are exposed to suckiness or that which fails to satisfy, we aren't surprised. We're like, oh, everything's going according to schedule. Cool. Now here's the thing. Letting go is not the same as shoving away. It's a mistake to confuse the two. For instance, just because we let go of pleasure doesn't mean we are pushing it away. You know, if your life partner or your spouse and he wants to make love with you and you make love, you don't say, I can never make love with you again because I'm a Buddhist and we do not indulge in pleasure. No, go knock yourselves out. Have fun. You know. And in future lessons, you'll learn how to bring even pleasure into the path of love and wisdom. The first step is this. After you've experienced pleasure, to explore the fact that it fails to satisfy in the long term, that will increase your wisdom. Not the wisdom that makes you into a cranky bastard, but the wisdom that makes us much more resilient, to paraphrase Shakespeare, to the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Thank you for your time, and I thank you for your kind attention. Before you go, I want to invite you to click the like button. And after you click the like button, 3 little buttons will come up for social networking. Click those 2 so other people can get exposed to these teachings. And you'll notice below the video there's a link so that you can register for the Thursday series of weekly webinars. I want to thank you for your time and your kind attention. May you and yours be healthy and happy. Om Mani Padme Hum. This year's Thursday series of weekly webinars begins September 6th. I'll see you there.